Have you ever thought, we spent over a decade in school, and no one thought to teach us how to handle the one thing we'll use every single day of our lives? Money. It's almost like the system wants us to figure it out the hard way, with mistakes, debt, and stress. And that's why Andrew Hallam's story hits different. He wasn't some finance bro or tech startup millionaire. He was a teacher, a high school English teacher, living on an average salary, and yet he managed to retire as a millionaire. Because he just followed a few simple, boring rules that actually work. Rule number 1. The real test of wealth. So here's the thing nobody tells you about money. The hardest part isn't math, it's emotion. Seriously, the numbers are easy. The real battle happens in your head. Picture this, it's 2008. The market's crashing. You turn on the news and it's pure chaos. Red numbers everywhere. Millions lose their savings. Is this the next Great Depression? You check your portfolio and it's down 40%. Your brain starts screaming, do something. Sell before it all disappears. And then, when everything's skyrocketing, you feel that itch to buy more right at the top. Because humans are emotional creatures trying to survive in a system that rewards logic. And that's what most people did. They sold. They couldn't take the pain. They thought they were protecting themselves. But by selling, they locked in their losses. They pulled their financial tree out of the ground to save it, and ended up killing it instead. Imagine your money as a tree you planted. You've watered it, cared for it, watched it slowly grow. But the moment a storm hits, a little thunder, some heavy rain, you panic. You grab a shovel, dig it up, and drag it inside so it doesn't get hurt. The storm passes, the sky clears, but your tree's gone. It never got the chance to grow into the shade you wanted to sit under. People didn't lose money in 2008 because of the crash itself. They lost it because of fear. And that fear is built into all of us. Psychologists call it loss aversion. The pain of losing $1 feels twice as strong as the joy of gaining $1. It's the same part of your brain that would have told your ancestors to run from a lion. Only now, the lion is a red arrow on the phone screen. But the people who stayed calm in 2008, the ones who didn't touch their investments, or even bought more while everything was on sale, those people doubled, even tripled their money in the years that followed. Because storms always end. The market always recovers. It's designed to. So if you want to build wealth, you have to learn to sit through the storm. You have to trust that your financial roots are strong enough. The secret to wealth isn't predicting the market. It's mastering your emotions when everyone else is losing theirs. Rule number 2. Quiet wealth beats loud wealth. Our world is obsessed with looking rich. Everywhere you turn, someone's showing off a new car, new phone, new vacation. Instagram has basically turned flexing into a full-time job. But here's the secret no one tells you. Most of those people aren't rich. They're just really good at spending money. The guy driving a $100,000 car might have $200 in his checking account. Meanwhile, the quiet neighbor next door who drives a 10-year-old Toyota and cuts his own grass, he probably has a 7-figure investment portfolio. That's what Andrew Hallam calls stealth wealth. Because real wealth doesn't scream. Let me put it this way. Imagine your money as an army of tiny workers. Every time you spend, you're sending your soldiers out to never come back. But every time you save and invest, you're sending them to work, to recruit more soldiers for you. The more you send to work, the sooner you can stop working yourself. So why don't most people do it? Because spending feels good right now. Saving feels like a chore. Buying something shiny gives you that quick dopamine hit. But long term, it traps you. You end up working harder just to maintain a lifestyle that doesn't even make you happier. You ever notice how people's spending grows right along with their income? You get a raise, and somehow your expenses magically grow too. That's called lifestyle creep, and it's sneaky. You tell yourself, I can afford it now. And before you know it, your new salary disappears into better dinners, newer phones, and slightly fancier rent. But what if you just kept your lifestyle steady for a while and invested the difference? You'd be shocked how fast that gap turns into freedom. Andrew was a teacher, and teachers don't make 6 figures, but he lived like someone making less than he did. He biked to work, packed his own lunch, skipped the flashy stuff. Every dollar he saved became a little worker in his investment portfolio. Over time, those workers multiplied, quietly, steadily, until one day he didn't need a paycheck anymore. And that's the real goal here. Not the car, not the watch, not the I made it Instagram post. All right, let's talk about what's probably the most underrated superpower in personal finance. Rule number 3, the power of compound interest. It sounds boring, but it behaves like magic when you give it time. Basically, your money doesn't just sit there. It makes tiny amounts of money, and those tiny amounts make more money, and then those make money. It's your cash quietly cloning itself while you sleep. And if you want the perfect example of how powerful that snowball can get, just look at Warren Buffett. When Buffett was 30, his net worth was about $1 million. By 50, he had around 70 million. Not bad, right? But by the time he hit 60, his net worth exploded to about 3 billion. And today, in his 90s, it's over $100 billion. More than 90% of his wealth came after he turned 60. Not because he suddenly found better investments, but because he'd been compounding for decades. That's the power of time. It's not about how much you start with, it's about how early and how consistently you let your money grow. Even small amounts, given enough time, turn into something massive. That's the part nobody sees. The first 10 or 20 years are quiet, then boom, the numbers go vertical. That's the exact curve that built Buffett's fortune. So if you're thinking I'll start investing later, remember, later costs you years of compounding, and time is the one thing you can't buy back. Rule number 4, index funds. Now that we've talked about how your money can grow through the magic of compounding, let's talk about where to actually put that money so it works hard for you, not for someone else. So here's the secret: low-cost index funds. If you've never heard of them, don't worry. They sound more complicated than they are. Think of an index fund like a basket that holds a tiny piece of hundreds or even thousands of companies. Instead of trying to guess which one stock will win, you just own all of them. If the overall market grows, your basket grows. It's kind of like betting on the entire race instead of one horse. You might not win big in a single sprint, but over the long run, you'll always come out ahead. Now, here's why this matters. Cost. Most people invest through actively managed funds. Those are run by professionals who try to beat the market. But the truth, almost none of them do. In fact, studies show that over 90% of them underperform the market in the long run. And while they're failing to beat it, they're also charging you high fees, sometimes 1 or 2% a year. That doesn't sound like much, but over decades, that tiny percentage can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Index funds flip that upside down. They don't try to beat the market. They are the market. They just quietly track it, with fees so low they're almost invisible. We're talking 0.05% or less. That means almost all your money stays invested instead of being eaten up by costs. Let's put that into perspective. Imagine two people invest $10,000 for 40 years, both earning 8% before fees. One pays 2% in fees each year. The other pays 0.05%. The difference? The low-cost investor ends up with around $230,000 more, just because they kept their costs low. Crazy, right? That's why Warren Buffett, the guy we just talked about, told his own family to put their inheritance in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund after he's gone. If it's good enough for him, it's probably good enough for the rest of us. Because over time, the stock market always goes up. Sure, it dips, crashes, panics, but if you zoom out, the line always climbs higher. And with index funds, you get to ride that long-term wave without the stress of trying to time the market. So if you're tired of the noise, tired of guessing games and get-rich-quick advice, keep it simple. Own the market, keep your costs low, and let compounding do the rest. Rule number 5, balanced portfolio. Andrew Hallam talks about, and it's one of my favorites, keep your portfolio simple and balanced. He explains it like cooking. You don't need 50 ingredients to make something great. You just need the right balance. In investing terms, that means balancing between stocks and bonds. Stocks are the exciting part. They grow your wealth over time. Bonds are the calm part. They keep you steady when things get rough. Hallam says stocks help you get rich, and bonds help you stay rich. So, how much of each? He doesn't give some magic number. It depends on your comfort level. If you're young and okay with a few ups and downs, maybe you lean more towards stocks. If you're older or just want more stability, you tilt toward bonds. The key is to build something that fits your life, something that lets you sleep peacefully even when markets get a little crazy. And he really pushes this idea of global diversification. He says, don't just bet on one country's future, even if it's your own. The world's economy is huge, and spreading your investments across different regions lowers your risk. It's like having teammates from all over the world. If one has a bad season, someone else is still scoring. And you can build this entire setup with just a couple of index funds. Hallam himself uses just a handful, one global stock index fund and one bond index fund. And if you like picking stocks for fun, he doesn't say you can't. He just says to keep it small, like dessert after dinner, maybe 5% or 10% of your portfolio. And he always says, don't let complexity impress you. Let simplicity make you rich. And that's a mindset shift most people never make. They chase excitement and end up chasing losses. Rule number 6, be wary of financial advisors. Picture this. You walk into a fancy office, big smile, nice suit, shiny desk. They offer you coffee and tell you they'll help you reach your financial goals. Sounds great, right? But behind the scenes, many of them get paid a cut every time you buy the products they recommend. Mutual funds, insurance plans, investment packages, the more you buy, the more they earn. So ask yourself, are they advising you or selling to you? Because a lot of financial advisors don't actually work for you. They work for commissions. You might see a 2% management fee and think, that's nothing. But over decades, that 2% doesn't just nibble at your returns, it devours them, like we talked about earlier. And here's the thing, not all advisors are bad. A good advisor is like a coach. They're on your team, cheering you on. A bad one is like a referee who also owns one of the teams. He tells his readers to look for fee-only advisors, people who charge you a flat rate or hourly fee for their advice, not a percentage of your portfolio. Or if your situation's not too complicated, Hallam actually encourages learning to manage it yourself. Remember his rule about index funds? They're designed so you don't have to pay a middleman. So before you hand over your savings to someone who promises to handle it all, ask the simple question, how do you get paid? If that question makes them uncomfortable, that's your answer. The financial industry is designed to look complicated, because if you think it's too hard, you'll keep paying for help. But it's not too hard. You're smarter than that. You just need someone to explain it in plain English. And that's exactly what this book, and this video, and this channel are about. So don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Rule number 7, rebalancing. Rebalancing is like giving your portfolio a tune-up, just checking under the hood once in a while to make sure everything's running smoothly. Here's how it works. Let's say you set up your portfolio perfectly. 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Over time, the stock market goes wild. Everything's going up, your stocks are crushing it, and now you've got 75% stocks and only 25% bonds. Sounds awesome, right? But here's the problem. You're now taking on way more risk than you planned. If the market suddenly drops, that extra spice in your portfolio can burn you. So you rebalance. That means you bring things back to your target. You sell a little of what's grown too much and move that money into what's lagged behind. Basically, you're buying low and selling high without guessing or timing the market. But if selling would trigger taxes, you don't have to sell. Instead, just direct your new contributions toward whatever's fallen behind. For example, if your bonds are underweight, you stop adding to your stock fund for a while and put new money into the bond fund until it's back in balance. You don't need to do this often either. Once or twice a year is plenty. Think of it like trimming a bonsai tree. You don't hack at it constantly. You just make small, careful cuts now and then to keep it beautiful. And rebalancing automatically trains you to do the opposite of what most investors do. When everyone else is panic selling the stuff that's dropped, you're quietly buying it on sale. When everyone's chasing what's hot, you're trimming a little and keeping things steady. That's how you stay calm when the world's losing its mind. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Real wealth is quiet. It's not about showing off. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about freedom. The freedom to wake up and know you own your time. And here's something a lot of people misunderstand. Being smart with money doesn't mean you never get to have fun. It's not about cutting out joy or skipping the things you love. You can always set aside a little fun fund, maybe 5 or 10% of your income, for whatever makes you really happy. But here's the catch. You decide that beforehand. You separate your fun money from your future money. That way you enjoy your life now and you're building something amazing for later. Because honestly, what's the point of being wealthy if you can't enjoy life along the way? So let me ask you, what does wealth mean to you? Is it freedom, travel, more time with your family, or maybe just knowing you'll be okay no matter what? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this video helped you see money differently, hit the like button and subscribe for more.